and can give them a run for their money.
Yeah, because that's a big thing though, especially inside of our community where you see a
Right.
lot of people come out. As soon as he got hit with that Fed case, they was automatically saying like, man, the feds ain't coming unless they got you. He cooked, and you know
Hmm.
be some of the more severe charges, and even then the charges they found him guilty on, it's still up for debate. I'm thinking
Right.
that it still
Most,
could be
most
an appeal that'll be taking place.
most definitely. The way I actually see it, Chuck, is that they they had Diddy with a lot of charges. They showed Diddy to be a bad person, not a likable person, but they really didn't convict him of the things that they actually charged him with. You understand what
Right.
I'm saying? You know.
And then did you notice like they painted this narrative on social media of about a lot of these different things that was going to take place? And, from me watching and a lot of other people I talked to, they were like every day when they looked up the trial, they were like, okay, so is it going to bring that up? Is it going to bring this
Right,
baby
right.
oil up? Is it going to bring that up? And none of that stuff got brung up. And it's like clearly they didn't have a case in
Hmm.
regards to said things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Go ahead. You can continue to talk. I can hear you.
Because
I'm
I thought
listening.
like when it came down to even his lawyer, one of the closing arguments,
Uh huh.
when he was addressing the jury, he was talking about the guns, and he had said that it was some miscommunication with far as Fallon. The guns they wasn't yet illegal. You know what I'm saying? That they were actually legal guns. It was just some miscommunication in paperwork. So that's probably why a lot of people didn't see them gun charges take effect into that case, because they knew that the lawyers was going to put in front of them what they had in front of them.
Right. Right.
So, when you looking at it now, so we hearing about Diddy. We hearing about Diddy is facing up to 10 years. That's the maximum. We
Hmm.
know the federal system got a point system. Diddy, right now, as far as we know, he don't have any priors.
Right.
So
Right.
what is he looking at when it comes down to something like this? Him being
See,
guilty.
it's tough. It's tough because in a situation like Diddy, what you don't see too often, what happens is, and this happened to me in my case too, in one of the cases that I had, right, is that because he beat the major charges, there is a likelihood that the judge might give him time served, looking at the time that he spent in there, the fact that he spent it without any bail. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And the hardship that him and his family has went through. You understand what I'm saying? He can get a reduction in his sentence for that. He can get a reduction in the sentence for good behavior. You understand what I'm saying? During trial, he's a first time offender. He can get a reduction for that. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm. And then they have
he
like a
can,
drug program too, as well,
right,
right? In
right.
the federal
Well,
system.
they can put him on the drug programs. They can make him do concerts and donate the money to the community. You know what I'm saying? So many different things that they could do other than doing prison. You understand what I'm saying? And when you look at the kind of time he did and the hardship that he had because of his celebrity status, okay, they consider that sometimes as punishment itself. You know what I'm saying? Because he can't go in the general population. He has to be under these strict rules and procedures and stuff like that. So there's a likelihood, depending on how his lawyers argue, that he can get time served, or either he can actually get a bail. In my particular case, like I said, it wasn't as serious as Diddy's. It was I actually had an attempted murder, and I beat the charges and got found guilty on a lesser charge. And the judge, he allowed me to go out on bail into my sentencing. Okay. The only problem is Diddy got a history of threatening witnesses and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
the judge probably wouldn't want to deal with the females that's going to be complaining, or if something happened to one of the females, then everybody's going to want to hang the judge. You understand what I'm saying? To forget about Diddy. So I doubt if the judge let him go, uh, uh, a lesson the judge have in mind to giving him time served. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you. So like even with the point system, it's some sort of guidelines, and I noticed that they said with testimony, doing this sentencing
Right.
hearing, can they go outside the guidelines with some of the testimonies?
Well, he can, But at the same time, you got to remember, unlike a person convicted of the serious crimes, okay, he always have the argument that he was not convicted, like with the violence and Cassie, he wasn't convicted of that. You understand what I'm saying? You know, so it'll be difficult, even though the judge can consider it, like you're saying, up under the guidelines, because the guidelines are not mandatory. They can give him some leverage. The judge could feel that there was violence in light of the video. You understand what I'm saying?
And that's what they keep mentioning is that video.
Right, and give him 2 points for that. But see that at the same time, he was never actually charged with that. You understand what I'm saying? He was never charged with that. They used that to paint a picture of him as being a bad guy, you know.
Yeah, it's still a battle for him, you know. A lot of people, you know,
Most
think it's over,
definitely.
but it's definitely a battle for him.
Listen, this fight here is just as worse as the trial, because now it's a matter of whether or not you're doing 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a year, or 10 days, or 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like? So with the prosecutors, you know what I'm saying, they taking a hit like this. And I did research. I seen a guy, he had did Fed time, and he was mentioning the fact that, you know, the prosecutors might have been pressing the judge a little bit, and maybe if that judge had a little bit more leeway, meaning that he had been on the bench for 20 years and they threatening him, and he like, you know what, you can threaten me all you want. If anything, I'll retire. But this particular guy, he became a judge in 2022. You know what I'm saying? So he's new on the bench, and you know, does that have any merit? Does that mean anything? Like as far as him cooperating with, say, what the prosecution is saying, and from their years of experience?
See, what happened is we overlook the 3 articles. You familiar with the 3 articles?
No, not off top.
Okay. Article 1, Article 2, Article 3. Article 1 is Congress. They write the laws. You follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
Article 2 is the prosecutors who enforce the law. And Article 3 is the judges. Wow. So the judges, in reality, and people don't understand, because it's a fake illusion, they're actually up under the prosecutor. You understand what I'm saying? Their job is only just to keep the fairness going and give the appearance of that a person is getting a fair trial, and to make sure everything is balanced. You know what I'm saying? But the prosecutor's job is to enforce that law that Congress has drafted up. Then the judges come in.
Right. And then you have so like a judge, and they seeing, like, you know, say this person is perjuring himself and you know, making a circus of their courtroom. In most cases, most judge wouldn't have that, right?
Right. They actually have an obligation to kind of stop it if they could prove and establish it. You know, it's actually called fraud on the court. If they can establish that somebody's committing perjury, actually the prosecutor has an obligation too. If he knows that one of his witnesses are not being truthful, his job is to bring it to the court and to correct the testimony.
Wow. Yeah. So. Yeah, so the level, like, is it a certain level, like, when because we talk about the guidelines and we understanding that they saying the maximum is 10 years, but is it like some sort of level?
Right. Yeah. See, well, based upon based upon his crimes, and if I'd have known you was going to ask these lots of questions, I could have looked it up and told you exactly where he'd have been on the guidelines. Like, say, based upon these crimes, for example, and with him being a first-time offender, if 10 years is the maximum, he probably looking at somewhere in the area of about 3 years.
Right.
Okay. But that's 3 years. That's not mandatory. You understand what I'm saying? Keep in mind the sentence covers from the range 0 to 10 years. So if the judge wanted, he can give 0. The judge could look at the fact, okay, man, we already had this guy in jail with no bail. You understand what I'm saying? No visitation. He was locked up in consolidatory confinement because of his social status. And now you want me to put him in a pen for the full 10 years? That's like, it's like vindictive prosecution. It's like you're asking for the max now because you lost. It's not because he's entitled to it. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, when you see that family support and all of that too, it
That
becomes
means something, right?
it becomes very difficult for the judge and society. And I think that played the role too on the jury. You know what I'm saying? The family support.
Yeah, the family was there to support the whole time. I seen a
Right.
video of a guy. He's claimed that he was in the elevator, after
Mhm.
the verdict, and he was with two Diddy sons, and he said that they was just screaming, jumping up and down for joy, hitting the walls, and was like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go," you
Mhm.
know, and he took it as like they know that their pop's coming home. Like, so at the end of the day, do you think that him being found guilty of, like, for example, charge one, which is the RICO, he's definitely in a better outcome than getting hit with that charge, correct? Because they could have
No,
messed with
that's
his
correct.
money or anything.
That's correct, because see, those cases that involve touching his money, they involve mandatory minimum sentences. And
Mhm.
in this case, he doesn't have a mandatory sentence. You understand what I'm saying? And his facts, if you don't look at the character, that the picture that they painted to the jury, the facts of his case mandate time served.
Right, right. But then you hearing that they had until 5 o'clock, so they came back. The judge denied bail. They said because of violence. So with that being said, like, well, why they study trying to introduce this domestic violence case with average domestic violence doesn't go federal, it becomes state. And
Well,
even
see,
though for first
right.
offense, if it's like a little bit of jail time, if you cop out, you go home, you go take classes of some sort, right?
But see, you gotta realize it's actually not the violence now that it's what they call in federal court mitigating and aggregating factors. Okay, the court is going to be looking at mitigating factors and aggregating factors to determine whether or not he should be entitled to bail before sentencing, or either to determine whether or not he should get time served when the sentence is imposed. Depending
Hmm.
on what this judge do now, that's going to determine how much time Diddy's going to get if he gets sentenced. You know what I'm saying? If he give him a bail, there's a strong likelihood that Diddy's definitely going to get time served. You understand what I'm saying? A very little time, a minimum time.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, okay, they fighting as much as they can to keep him behind bars, but I think like the judge even said instead of the October date, they willing to push the sentencing a little closer, and
But
they
see,
actually.
that's why they put the guidelines. That's why they put the guidelines into effect, because they didn't want to give the judge and them that much power. They wanted the guidelines to be mandatory to give the judge guidance and instructions on what to do, so that the judge couldn't be biased.
Mhm. And they said that they noticed they said in prior cases a lot of times these type or charges in general, when it comes to the federal system, they won't make anything consecutive. They'll probably make things concurrent. But
Oh yeah,
I
they do.
did notice,
That's like a basic. That's like a basic stand. It's a rule. I forgot what title that rule fall up under.
that the prosecutors they basically submitted to the judge saying that they wanted to be consecutive. They want
Mm-hmm.
basically the mandatory max, the 10 and 10, to be 10 and 10, as if he should go serve 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they mentioned like how he gets out of trouble, and he thinks he's above the law. But in this particular situation, I don't know where they get that he thinks that he's above the law. Because the last time that he was in court, which would have been back when Shine, like in I think it was 99,
Right. Right.
2000,
Uh-huh.
over 2 decades ago. And it's like, if he stayed out of trouble or stayed out of y'all eyes, and you didn't have any wind of him doing anything out of the ordinary or criminal, what's the issue?
Right. Well, the issue is that they lost, and actually, it's in a verse, in a reverse. They overcharge people. This is a fine case to show how they overcharge people when they know they don't have the evidence to support it, and they throw all of that stuff on the on the wall and hope that something stick. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Their whole focus point in Diddy's case was to present these bogus charges, okay, and then hope that something stick after they paint a picture of him being a bad guy. You know, like if you look at, he's charged with running a criminal organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the facts, right, it doesn't show that he was organizing his business to support the crimes that they were presenting. Okay, if anything, it was just that him being disorganized and just having a ball. You know what I'm saying? Partying over the wall. You know, violating codes of decency. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, but you know, yeah, that's kind of like, you know, that's kind of like what they do in most of these cases, man. They grab the little alleged street corner dealers on the corner that's selling nickels and dimes, and they make them out of drug kingpins. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
then in most cases, they don't have the money to
Fight.
support themselves. You know what I'm saying? Or to defend it in a case. You know.
And like you mentioning that, so like he was caught with I believe 2 grand. Well, he wasn't even caught with any drugs, but this guy was caught boarding his plane and was saying that he was coming to supply Diddy, and I think he had 2 grams on him. But Diddy ended up getting charged with distributing drugs, like you know, like he was distributing cocaine. Why would they put that type of
Yeah.
charge on him versus, you know, that for them to be that small amount of drugs? And even with the witness testimonies, they're saying that he has a drug problem. Why would they try to allude that he was trying to distribute drugs?
You see, it wasn't so much that they was trying to prove, in my opinion, that he was trying to distribute drugs. They were trying to paint a picture with small little
Details.
unlawful conduct so that
Mhm.
they can get the bigger crimes. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
See, the distributing the drugs, for example, could have been a clear-cut predicate act for the RICO. You understand what I'm saying? So they're presenting it in that way, not so much to say he's a drug dealer. You understand
Right,
what I'm saying?
right.
Because when you look at the evidence, he's not selling drugs to make money. He's the drugs that's being distributed is for fun, so recreation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I do know that they mentioned a lot of times. They mentioned the predicate law. They mentioned the predicate acts a few different times and throughout the case. And yeah, that's crazy though, because it's just like, damn.
Right. Let me
Can't
know
get
when
it.
you're ready too, because I'm jumping up and down. I'm trying to scan some papers in for my job while I'm here.
No, it's all good, bro. It's all good. And then Cassie, right? So Cassie, you know, her lawyer even put in, you know, some paperwork in regards to him getting that bond and saying that she's pretty much scared. She fears her life. Like my thing is this though, right? So even if he get 5, let's say they give him 5 years, right? And for the most part, he's still gonna have his money. He's still gonna probably be whole. He might even be richer. So with that being said, what would make a difference on him getting out today for and waiting on his sentencing versus he getting sentenced and he getting out 5 years from now? Wouldn't she still be scared?
Right.
If that's the truth.
Well, yeah. If let's say, for example, if he did 5 years and it came time to release, because part of the statutes, they have to let the victims know when a person is going to be released from jail. She would still cry that she's scared and she's fearful of her life. You understand what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Exactly. And I think she should be more worried about, you know, her husband. Her husband, you know, when she got married, the levels of money wasn't there, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't a prenup. And now
Right.
she came up on like $40 million, and you know him seeing all these things take place inside of that courtroom, and seeing exactly who his wife is or who his wife used to be, that could be a toll on someone's marriage.
No doubt. No doubt.
And you know, with
No
no
doubt.
prenup, he can go ahead and divorce her and take half. So I think she should be probably focused on that, you know, making sure that her marriage is still intact. And, you know, just of course, this is a part of her life. You know, I'm pretty sure she's gonna probably write a second book.
Yeah,
You
and make
know,
another couple of million.
exactly. So, you know, focus on that. You know, I don't at the
You
end of
know,
the day.
that's what I thought Diddy lawyers, I thought they did a good job covering that. even though these girls crying that they're victims, that they've been paid off. You know, they happy. They got, you know what I'm saying? He's paying for one rent. Jane, he's paying for her rent, and Cassie, she got 30 million. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you know, Diddy's already been punished. You know, and he got mega lawsuits he got to deal with.
Mega lawsuits. He had a lawsuit that came out today too. It's like they come out every day, and one of them came out today in regards to something that happened in L.A. with a bodyguard who met a person and brought him back to the party. And, you know, these sort of acts, but you know, it's just an ongoing cycle when it comes down to it. You know, and I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what takes place, because I want to ask you this too. Do you think some of the stuff that's happening is this going to become case law moving forward for other cases?
No, you know what I think this is going to make people realize, that when the feds come get you and say that they got you, they don't really have you. You understand what I'm saying? Like most people think, you know what I'm saying? And you could see that a lot of the witnesses that came against Diddy, that's what I'm saying. They came after Diddy's arrest. They came forward to testify. So that means that piece of evidence that the government was relying on didn't even exist at the time. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, so I think it's gonna make people feel that the feds can be defeated. You know what I'm saying? If you stand there, if you stand there and you got the money and the time and the patience to fight them, you can win. You know.
Now, I don't know if you know this off top of your head, but the Mann Act. So a lot of people are telling me the Mann Act comes from, you know, a black man, white women in a relationship, as well as some people are saying the Mann Act come in place because of women's rights. Do you know anything about the Mann Act, and how is that utilized inside the federal system?
Well, if I remember correct, right, it came about through Jack Dempsey. I don't know if you remember Jack Dempsey, the boxer.
Okay.
Okay. Remember, he had a little white girlfriend. She was like 15 years old, and he was traveling across the country with her on the train, and she ran away from home, running with him and stuff like that. You know, I know it's somewhere along those lines. I'm not really actually sure on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's where the transportation come at, right?
Right. Yeah. You know, right. Because she was leaving. She left the house, running with him, going from state to state, watching him fight and supporting him and stuff like that, and so on. But I don't know. What was the question again? I got lost in my
It's like
train of thought.
if the Mann Act, like them utilizing that Mann Act, is it some old writing in it? Because a lot of people were saying it was, you know, for interracial relationship, it was a black man who was with a white woman, and then some people are saying that it stems from the fact that women rights or whatever. So I was just trying to get a grasp on, let people know exactly.
It's kind of, I see it as a combination of both. You know what I'm saying? You know, but you know, they used it. They're trying to use it to support it as protecting the woman's rights and stuff like that. But it was more of them, in my opinion, creating a law because this wealthy white lady, they didn't have any control, or they didn't have a way of stopping her from doing what she wanted to do. So, you know, they went after Jack on it.
Right. Wow, that's crazy. So these and that was so many years ago. So
Right.
goes to show you that they still utilizing some of the stuff that was written back then today. And I also wanted to get into, you know, I believe it was Rule 39, right? I think it was Rule 39.
I think it's Rule 29. I seen
Yeah,
that.
Rule. Okay, Rule 29. Is
Rule
that
2933.
is that in regards to X case, or is that?
No, that was in regards to Diddy's case. Yeah,
Okay.
because you had asked about it when they was doing closing arguments. You told me that you wanted me to explain what a Rule 33 motion was and a Rule 29 motion is. They usually, once the government rests their case, a defendant can move for a judgment of acquittal or mistrial based upon a Rule 29, which is the judgment of acquittal. The Rule 33 is a motion for mistrial. You know, and in most cases, if you don't preserve your rights and you don't make those motions, then you actually waive your rights on appeal with it.
Right. Got you. So, like, one of your clients right now, Xavier Williams, and
Mhm.
I know a lot of people. We put up some stuff about him in regards to his case. Can you explain like what's going on with his case and like how is everything moving forward today?
Well, I'm saying X has, of course, he has a case that involves a lot of family members and friends from the neighborhood and stuff like that.
Hmm.
When X was first charged, I think he was charged with 14 felonies, and he ended up beating them, most of them, and I think he ended up getting convicted of about 5 of them, and he received a couple of life sentences and stuff like that. He got convicted of the RICO conspiracy, conspiracy to distribute drugs, possession of a firearm, and furtherance of a drug trafficking crime, and money laundering. All of his violent crimes and anything that dealt with murder or conspiracy to murder, he beat those at trial. So X has been locked up for over 2 decades now, and he's been focusing on rehabilitating and turning himself around and making major changes in his life and stuff like that and so on. He's definitely one of the few people that I believe strongly in my heart that deserves a second chance. And he's not the person. If you ever sit down and talk to X like I do, he's definitely not the person that came into prison, or he's definitely not the person that they painted the picture of at his trial. You know.
Got you. And with that being said, like we know that he was over sentenced, and we talked about that even with the Diddy case. You know how sometimes the federal system can over sentence people, and
Right.
when it comes to X and a lot of these different laws that they pass, why are they not applying them when it comes to his case? Is it because it's like a case by case situation? Is it because they just don't like the way he look? Like what is the issue?
It's a case by case situation, but what's overlooked a lot, that is not really any standards that you have to go by. It's a discretionary call on the judge.
Hmm.
So you can have 2 people in similar situations, and the judge can give it to one person and not give it to the other person for whatever reasons he finds justifiable to put down on the paper. Um, and in X case, and X realizes it, that some of the motions that he filed previously, he made some procedural errors in his case. Now he's trying to straighten those things up, but he clearly meets all the criterias of a sentencing reduction, having a sentencing modified and reduced. And actually, right now, we're looking for people. We're looking for support from anybody who might be listening to this show to send in some letters, some comments on X if they know X about his character, so we can submit them to the judge. And hopefully, if we're lucky, we can get X home within less than a year or so. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like
right.
I said, they meet the crimes. If you look at some of the other cases, and I don't want to mention any names because people might think that I'm throwing them up under the buses. Those cases are a lot worse than X cases, and they got out. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And these people are home with their family and stuff like that now, and so on. Me talking to X on the phone and listening to X talk to his family, listening to X talk to his girl, I see all of the signs of rehabilitation, change, and a changed individual, and so on.
And do they take in consideration, like if a person has, because when I talked to X, he said that he's been, getting different certificates, being proactive through life in jail, meaning that mentoring, whole bunch of things. So do they take that in consideration, or is it just like,
Yeah, they take that in consideration, but see, not so much coming from you, but in X case, if you read his educational transcripts, which I've seen, and I've seen his certificates, he meets all those criteria. Those certificates and his educational transcripts from the BOP speak for themselves. You
right?
understand what I'm saying? You probably need people like me who witness X talking to his kids, he has a son now, I call little X, right? He's a math teacher.
Yeah.
So looking at that factor alone, what does that tell you about the father guidance? You know what I'm saying, on this guy? You understand what I'm saying? That he's reaching out there. He's connecting with his kid. He's taking his kid out of that cycle of the family members where the dad goes to jail, the son goes to jail, the grandson goes to jail, and so on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
No, for sure, for sure. Anybody got any questions on Clubhouse? We got Clubhouse on right now that's on the live as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me, Clubhouse?
Yeah, who is X?
Xavier Williams.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I heard y'all spoke about it on the Bronx, right?
Right. Anybody got any questions on X or even Diddy? Because we was talking about Diddy as well, as far as his sentencing. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got one.
Y'all hit the like button right now. Y'all share this live. Go ahead.
I had heard that they said that he got to complete certain programs. Like, tell me, what programs you talking about, Diddy? What programs will he have to complete?
RDAC.
Oh, you said RDAC?
RDAC. It's a drug program. He complete RDAC. He get a year knocked off. It takes 9 months to complete it. He get a whole year knocked off. So if you go in there and say you got a gambling problem, drug problem, any type of problem, he could take an RDAP program, which takes 9 months to complete, and he get a year knocked off his time.
You familiar with that, Tommy?
Yeah, but a program like that wouldn't apply to X because X have a life sentence.
No, not X. I think they were talking about Diddy.
Oh, Diddy? Oh, yeah. Diddy can do that, but see, Diddy wouldn't. There's nothing that show that Diddy needs a program like that. He might. I would suggest that if I was his attorney, I recommend that he take a outside program on the streets. Mm-hmm. Not all that. You know, why should he have to go to prison to take the program? With his money, his finances, he can do. He can go to a much better program that could be more helpful to him on the streets.
Even if he in custody, if they get that man 5 years and he in custody, I mean, it'll be a good idea to take that and get, I mean, a year knocked off your time. Then you got to think he go get 52 days off a year. I mean, 52 days off, you know what I mean, a year knocked off anyway. So plus that RDAP, you know, that's gonna shorten his time even more. Then he go get a year halfway house. So 5 years, he'll be home within maybe a bullet and a half.
Yeah. Your logic. Your logic appears to be correct, and it was correct several years ago. But in 2018, the federal system passed a law, and they allow people to use mitigating factors under Title 18, 3553. So your prison sentences are no longer mandatory. Before they used to be mandatory. And in Diddy's case right now, for example, he's not facing a mandatory guideline sentence or a mandatory 3 years or 4 years. His sentence range is actually 0 to 10. So he doesn't have to do any time. He can actually do probation. The thing what he has to do now is that his next argument is arguing the mitigating factors to show why he shouldn't have to do prison time, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and I think that's a lot of misconception on social media right now is that the fact that he don't have a minimum, you know, and it is 0 to 10 right now, and it's different factors that's going to take place, and it is up to his lawyer to argue this. Like, so you like a person like Diddy having 10 lawyers, you know, some of the top attorneys in this country. Was that a good thing for him? Do you think that was a deciding factor, or that this case wasn't, you know, where we thought it was from the get-go?
I think it's a deciding factor. See, Diddy's in a much better position than most of us. Mm-hmm. A lot of us, when we come against the feds, we don't have that resource. We don't have those resources as far as money, education, and fighting. One of the biggest problems that I see when people are getting convicted or people are fighting their appeals is because they fail to educate themselves on the process and how the system operates and how the system runs. Diddy with having 10 lawyers, the lawyers do that for you. You know what I'm saying? They also keep the judges on edge where they have to do their job. You know what I'm saying? They keep the foot on the judge's neck to do the right thing, because if not, his case will be coming back on appeal. Diddy's case, like I said, remind me of a lot of other federal cases where the federal government overcharged defendants, but they just don't have the money, the knowledge, and the power to fight those cases and so on. Like in Diddy's case, if you look at some of the charges that he had, the government never really proved those cases. They proved Diddy was a bad guy. Diddy was an asshole. He did this and he did that, and he shouldn't have been doing that.
Right.
But what he was actually charged with, they didn't prove or they didn't establish. He was charged with operating a criminal enterprise. Okay. If anything, the evidence showed that Diddy was just unorganized. He was out partying, having a good time, and doing what he felt best, doing what his money allowed him to do. It had nothing to do with him running this through his organization and making money for him and for his organization.
So like what Diddy went through, do you think it's because we've seen a lot of things that's happening inside the entertainment industry? Is it a chance that they can go and get some more people, or even let me ask you this. This is the big question. Like even for Diddy, so a lot of people saying, okay, they didn't get him on this. He got a bunch of more lawsuits in place. These lawsuits could potentially be criminal, just like the Cassie situation, right?
Right.
So is it a chance that they'll take him back to court?
No, because it'll cost them too much money too, and they'd be too afraid of losing it. Okay, and it's going to just encourage other people. The biggest problem that I think we all face, especially people in the entertainment business and the music business, is that they have to see the shift. Okay, in the early 70s and 80s, you had drug kingpins. You know what I'm saying? Guys selling drugs that was getting rich and wealthy. Then in the 90s, they brought out all these mandatory sentences to take that money from those guys who was getting rich and wealthy. You know what I'm saying? From selling drugs. Now, most people realize that selling drugs is not the key. Let me do music. Let me get into the music business. I can make just as much money. Now, if you look at the cases now, all the cases is you got a major switch to the music industry, and they're tying it to organized crime. You know what I'm saying? And they're taking those guys, and if they're not going to be successful in the trial, they're gonna probably lose most of their money in their endorsements. You know, and I'm pretty sure Diddy, I can't even imagine how much money he already lost by now.
Yeah. I think they said it was upwards of 10 million plus.
Right, which could be one of his mitigating factors at sentencing. Also, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's just like I just don't understand how, some of these other guys like the Abercrombie and Finch guy, more severe charges, able to receive bail, definitely have, finances, the same finances as Diddy, if not, similar. And you hear about a lot of these big high profile cases, and these guys able to get some sort of bond and, fight on the outside. And, it's like they looked at Diddy like, you know what, your money ain't good enough for us. That 50 million you putting up for that crib, or these XYZs you putting up for this is not going to hold no bond. And this is like his third or fourth time getting denied bond. And we see the same thing similar to Lil Durk's case. Lil Durk, same thing, plenty of family ties to the community, and it's like, no bond. Right. Is it like it just started to make you think that it's something else going on besides just, the facts at hand, the case at hand, these other, factors involved.
What it is it's the manipulation and it's the control. The government is showing you how much control that they have. Okay. And then at the same time, the manipulation come in where if there's somebody else doing something or somebody else who might know or have some information and knowledge, they have the ability now to scare them. That if you don't cooperate with us, you don't tell us what you know, you don't help us out, that we're going to throw you in jail. You're not going to get no bail. You're going to sit there and you're going to suffer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like they want you to cook. Like they want you to, your back be against that wall because even like I said, even with social media and you just looked at this case, shit, I even thought like at the beginning, I'm like, damn, maybe Diddy is cooked. He out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn. But then I started to look into some things and I'm like, I don't know just yet.
But see,
I don't
right.
want to comment on it.
The key factor in Diddy's case, right, was he had the lawyers, and I want you to listen to this very carefully. He had the lawyers that had the ability to educate the jurors. And this is why if you look at some of the notes that the jurors was asking, okay, they were able to educate the jury as to what the law required, what Diddy had to do, what Diddy did do versus what Diddy didn't do. You understand what I'm saying? In most cases, most other cases, your average everyday case, you have a public defender lawyer and he's not educating the jury. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the jury is going with what the prosecutor is saying,
No, I can understand that 100%. Yo, Stack City, you got any questions? Vunny, you got any questions in regards to this Diddy situation?
No, the one question I want to know is when he gets sentenced, like as of today, did his lawyers put in any motions for
appeal?
Any appeal motions to get the charges thrown out? No.
So he's asking
that was already done in the Rule 2933 motion. Yeah. When the government rests their case. But you gotta remember, looking ahead, right? If Diddy go for sentencing, their post argument now is probably going to be for time served. If Diddy probably gets time served, I doubt if there's going to be any appeal at all.
Got you. They're not going to waste their time.
They waste their time with the money.
Got you.
So you think it won't be in his best interest to put the appeal in, whether it goes his way or not?
Well, that's a personal choice for Diddy. If Diddy want to clean his record and try to get the mark off his record, he might do that. You know what I'm saying? But when you're looking at the case as a whole and all the money that the government spent into it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just basing this on my experience of working with the government and fighting these cases and stuff against the government and stuff like that. The government's not going to give up. They're going to take that. Even though it's not a victory for them, they're going to take that little victory and run with it. And they're not going to let Diddy. Do you know how bad the government would look if Diddy put in an appeal and win the appeal and become very successful on that appeal? But somebody like me in my position, most definitely, I agree with you. I would file that appeal and try to get my whole record expunged.
Because from me following this case, you can see there's a lot of holes all in this case. And the DA they just was freestyling this.
I didn't hear you.
Oh no, I'm saying it's me following this.
Yeah, I lost you on that one.
I'm sorry. I said for me following the case, I see the DA poked a lot of holes in it. There's a lot of ways out of this situation. But it takes time. You know what I mean? I've been incarcerated before, so I kind of understand how the judicial system works. It definitely would take about 18 to 24 months for even to get stuff done. You know what I mean? And I know Diddy got a lot of money, so it might be a little quicker for him. But I don't know. If I was Diddy in this case, I would definitely, even if he get a slap on the wrist with time served, probation or whatever, I definitely would have my lawyers put in the appeal to get that off my record if I could. It ain't gonna cost him as much as it cost him for trial. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it probably cost him a couple of millions, but he might not have that to spend now. You know what I'm saying? Looking at it, I don't know what his financial situations is, but I'm just trying to say it ain't no doubt in my mind that he lost a lot of money. You understand what I'm saying? and he had to give up a lot of money with these lawsuits, and he has to use a lot of money fighting these lawsuits coming up in the future. So the question is, do we want to spend more money going that way? But like I said, that's why I said I'm in a different position. I'm in agreement with you. I would do it for myself. You know what I'm saying? I would fight it.
Right.
You know, but it just doesn't seem like it'll be a smart business decision for him. You know what I'm saying?
Because typically, like, most people that go to trial, they automatically put the appeal in, whether it's in your favor or not. They put it in because things that that might be there that you might not see, that your lawyer might have missed. So it's always best to put an appeal because you never know which way it go, whether you're guilty or not. Even if you are guilty and they made a mistake, you win by default.
Right. You know, that's a good question, right? I got a question for you now, right? Okay. That's logic to show you how the court system works, right?
Yes.
What happens if Diddy's lawyer put in a motion for time served with the stipulation that they waive their rights to all appeals and post-conviction motions? And if the court grants it, is it still worth putting it in now?
No, I don't think I think it will probably be worth it. I think it will be worth it, but I think it's past that now. I think it went to trial. He got guilty, so all the motions for sentences, that's going to be up to the judge's discretion, right? You can't really put it in. So that will be something like a plea bargain. We passed that part.
No, that would be a mitigating factor in the appeal. I mean, in the sentencing. What I'm saying is, listen, we're asking the court to give us time served. As part of the time served, we'll waive our rights to any appeal or any post-conviction motions.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying now.
Right.
I see what you're saying. So that's the argument.
Right. Up under your 3553A factors.
Okay. Yeah. I see exactly what you're saying. I would do that. I definitely would do that if I could get it time served and walk out now. And to them lesser charges, I'd do that. That would be his best interest if they could do that. And I think that might work for him, though. Now that you mention it, I think that's the way they should go. To be honest with you.
So somebody just left a question. They said that so if he does appeal and say you don't win the appeal, does it affect this case?
No, not at all. You know,
no, it'd be like that never happened.
They have what's called malicious prosecution. You know, if they try to punish him for appealing and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? He can't go into a worse position than he's in now.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
You know, his most important move right now is look for the strategies to get out with the softest blow. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Again, your opinion, right? So I read where the DA is asking for 5 years. His lawyer is saying for 2. Where do you think the judge gonna meet at?
I think, well, that's a very good question. I think the judge has a hard decision to make here, and I'll tell you why. Because all of the serious charges Diddy was acquitted of. Okay, that means he probably shouldn't have never been in a position, or he shouldn't have never suffered the pain that he suffered by being in seg, or by not having no bail, by not being able to talk to his family, communicate with his family. See, there's a certain degree of punishment that he already served, that which is also part of his sentence, or should be a part of his sentencing memoranda, mitigating factors for time served or a lesser sentence. Okay, it's almost very similar to what happened in Young Thug case. Remember how the prosecutor asked for 15 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the judge ended up giving him 5. Giving him time served. You know, gave him 15. He gave him 15 years on the paper. You know what I'm saying? But Diddy has already punished. The only thing I could tell you what happened in my case, and I explained to Big Chuck earlier. One time I was charged with attempted murder. I beat the attempted murder, the serious charges like Diddy did, and was only found guilty of dispossession of the gun. Okay, I was in the same situation that Diddy is in now, and we asked for a bond pending sentencing. I received that bond because I beat the most serious crimes. Okay, the judge allowed me to stay home for a couple of months until my sentencing, and I had to turn myself in.
Okay.
And at the sentencing, the judge gave me the max at the sentencing, but my situation was a little bit different than the Diddy's. But Diddy is like, he's a first time offender, no criminal record. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
And actually, if you look at the evidence, don't forget about the tape. We know what he did with Cassie, right? But he has not been convicted of a crime of violence in this case.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The jury thrown out the violence component there. He was never charged with the violence of kicking Cassie, stomping her, pulling her hair, and dragging her down the hallway. He just wasn't charged with that.
Yeah. Hey, Chuck, can I ask him one more question before?
Let me just before you do that, just real quick. So it's more than unlikely for it to be consecutive. It's more likely for it to be concurrent. And also, as far as his minimums and his maximum, Diddy is facing 0 to 10 years on this case. So he could get probation, could get time served, he could come home. Go ahead, Stacks.
No, I want to ask you, being that, like you said, all the violent cases got he been found not guilty. The reason I think he didn't get no bail is because the letter that Cassie lawyer wrote. But can you explain what will be the reason for the judge not to give him bail for a non-violent offense?
I think you went out. You went out. Your audio went out.
Mine's?
No, his audio went out. Yeah, his audio had went out for a second. Yeah, we still can't hear you. Can y'all hear him?
Oh, no, I hear him.
Yo, chat, can you hear him? I think his audio went out, something disconnected. Probably got to go in and come back in. Yeah, they saying they can't hear you. Yeah, you probably got to go out and come back in. In the meantime, we got 194 people in the building. Go ahead and hit that like button. You can tap your screen or hit the 3 dots at the top. Hit the like button. Just share this on social media. Good conversation. This brother Tommy Walker, he's actually, he ain't been through the feds before. Feds gave him a life sentence. He actually was able to fight the feds on the appeal. He did it himself and ended up giving back that life sentence and coming home after 20-some years. Since then, he's also freed over 1,000 people. Over 1,000 people. Some of the notable names that we probably hear in social media as far as the hip-hop culture, Guy Fisher, Prince from the Supreme Team, and the list goes on. So, definitely in the know of things and knowing what's going on. So we just appreciate him coming on the platform and giving us this knowledge. Also, if you want to contact Tommy, I'm actually going to have it in the description. But do anybody got his website off the top of this? Is it changed? What is his website off the top? Hold on. Be funny, but we'll get that website to you. So anybody that's out there that's watching this and they might have a family member or they might be going through this situation when it comes to, this legal battle, they could contact him on his website and he has the resources, whether he can help you in this case or he can find somebody in your city or state who can assist you. SPJ, I don't know who you is, my brother, but peace and blessings to you, and you have a good day. Yeah, I think something went on with Tommy audio. Let me play some of this real quick. Let me see what they were talking about in regards to this.
Violence that we saw in this trial over and over as part of the justification for his.
Yo, Tommy. Yo, Tommy, can you hear me? Yeah, it's off of mute, but for some reason it's not working. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I won't worry about it though. We pretty much, you know, if you want to come on the Clubhouse, that Clubhouse link that you were in before, we can do it that way, or we can pretty much end it because we pretty much got the grips of things, what's going on. I was telling them if they need any help or any assistance, they can actually follow you on secondchanceforreal.com. I got the link posted at the top, as y'all can see. It's the highlighted link. And you'll be able to contact him. Either can have some resources that, you know, as far as him helping you, or he might have resources that he can in turn get you some help. So a lot of people, we definitely want you to get in tune with that website. It can change your life, change your family member life. Don't be shy. Just go to the website, you know, go to the message, type what you need to type, and get it out there to this brother. Because again, when it comes down to it, man, it's an honor to have him on our platform because of the work that he's been doing over the years. Yeah, I don't know, Tommy, something wrong with it. Free Diddy. No, for sure. Free Diddy. We got 150 people in the building. Go ahead, tap that screen, man. Them 3 dots at the top, 3 dots over here, and go ahead and hit that like button. Comment all you want, man. You know, if you just now coming in the building, go ahead and rewind this. You know, watch it from the beginning. Just watch it from the beginning. What was that? No, he came back, but I think it's still something wrong with his audio. You see now, yo, Tommy.
I ain't know it really had a serious on the chin.
Yeah, it happened like this before. I think it's something probably wrong. You probably got to hard restart. But yo, Tommy, hold on. I think I just heard something. Yo, Tommy. No, that was somebody else. Yo.
Yo, I know he got a thing over the chin, but they could get anything back to anything. It's something to just expect.
Yeah. Let me see if I can do some settings here. No, it's all good, Tommy. It's all good, bro. I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Y'all can catch us on the next one. Salute to everybody that came through. Again, y'all can tap into his website. Second Chance for Real. That's the number 2. NDCHANCE, the number 4. REAL.com. And y'all see it right now. It's posted right there. It's posted right there, gang. So just screenshot it. Screenshot that website right now. And get in tune, man. I'm telling you, because like you probably help one of your family members, you can help yourself, you know. And you also got a Chat GPT app coming out very soon where, like, say, for example, you get pulled over and, you know, you did the wrong thing. Your shit smell like weed. You know what I'm saying? And what do? Or you driving without a license, you know, what do you do? So you'll be able to type these things into Chat GPT, and the algorithm that he put in Chat GPT for this particular app is like an add-on for Chat GPT. It'll be able to assist you in things of what to do. You know, I typed in there how to fix my credit. So it's a bunch of things that's going on with that. But again, you can go to that website right there that's listed, and the download link to get that on your Chat GPT will be there. So man, get in tune, man. Appreciate everybody coming through. Salute. We back up in this thing again. It's Duff for the Cloud Chaser. Don't forget to follow the podcast, Fame of Clout podcast, Duff for the Cloud Chaser podcast. Follow us on all social media networks. Don't forget to follow my boy, Channel Black on Instagram. Y'all get in tune, man. We out.